Hi there. Welcome back. I know it's been a whole 3 hours, I think, maybe four. Longest 4 fucking hours of your life, I bet. Yeah. So, um, I'm tentatively going with the title, which it's a title that I came up with for a literary magazine that I did one issue for, and it was a bit difficult doing all the writing myself. So that failed. That was years ago. Completely irrelevant. And the title was Mental Masturbation with the subtitle Random Musings for and by Pseudo-Intellectuals. So I think that's what I'm going to be going with for now. I'm sure there's some way to edit that into my profile. But for now, I guess I'll just say it in my videos. And as I said at the end of my last video, I'm going to be beginning with the 10 Commandments, and the first, perhaps last, depending on your perspective, the 10th commandment of the 10 Commandments is, Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house? Something like that. That's what Wikipedia said, so I trust them. Basically, I'm going to be discussing greed and desire. And I'd like to start off with a quote of Lao Tzu. And I think Taoism has a lot of excellent perspectives on desire and that sort of thing. And so the quote is as follows: "The Taoist sage has no ambitions. Therefore, he can never fail. He who never fails always succeeds, and he who always succeeds is all-powerful." And I think that's an excellent quote. Desires, especially excessive ones, are really can really have a negative impact on our life. For example, I'm a smoker, which I do because it helps me cope. You know, it's a stress reliever. It's something that I can, light up a cigarette, say I'm doing some sort of weblog, and I'm nervous in front of the camera. Having a cigarette makes everything a bit easier. Now, the desire and the giving in to said desire of the cigarette has the negative consequences of I will die an early age from lung cancer, emphysema, mouth cancer, throat cancer, lung failure, I don't know, all sorts of gruesome and unpleasant things to think about. So part of this life is, a large part of this life is accepting these desires and moving past them. Maybe another personal example is, as some of you may have noticed, are my hands. Okay, let me briefly interrupt, because watching the clip back, I realized that you can't actually see my hands. So I thought that might be a useful thing. So just a quick, brief interjection, showing off my hands, because I think it's relevant. So back to the thing. I was born with, and wipe the sweat off, 2 diseases, genetic traits, I guess they're not technically diseases, passed on from my mother, who has them, and they were polydactyly and syndactyly. Polydactyly meaning I was born with an extra finger, and syndactyly meaning that they were webbed. And as you can see, I'm very comfortable showing all 0 of my viewers these hands, but it's something that I've accepted as I've grown older. When I was younger, and I still do, mainly out of habit though. Keep my hands in my pocket or folded, just because it was something that I was embarrassed about, you know. And when you're younger, you wish you could just crawl into a hole and never be noticed again. Um, so so yeah, and that's an example of something I've overcome. Smoking, I obviously haven't overcome yet, um, but I hope to. Other examples, one that I find particularly um, important is the classical greed, which is materialism. Um, Now, as you can see, I live in a tiny little room. I don't have many possessions beyond my CD collection and that sort of thing, and that's something I'm proud of. I think people need to learn how to make themselves happy through other other venues besides stuff, you know, um, and and that's something that can be difficult. And I think that that is perhaps an advantage I had of growing up without money. It was something that was trained into me. You know, when you know when you're growing up and maybe you don't have rent money. You know, so you get used to the idea of living without a house, and you come to understand that a house isn't what's important, it's a home, you know? You need to have things beyond material that form your support base group thing, you know? It's family and friends, and those are the important things in this life. Um, so that was a bit of a rant, and more on topic than I was expecting it to be. So, with that, I shall end it. Alright. Bye, guys.